Today's topic is about milk. And as common and as boring this topic sounds, wait for the end of the video to find out about a brand of the milk that has taken world, specifically the Western world, by storm. Coca-Cola used to dominate the cola industry for hundreds of years, and then Pepsi came in, I think, around 1980s, and then disrupted the cola industry. And in like 20 to 30 years time, Coca-Cola, which was a single brand that was a global mega firm, had this small competition from Pepsi, and like literally over years after years, Pepsi just toppled Coca-Cola or became equal to it. A very similar thing is happening in the milk industry, and this time it's a brand called Oatly. If you have heard of it, amazing. If you have not heard of it, you are going to hear of it very, very soon, because this brand has become a superstar brand. And why it has become a superstar brand, I'll tell you in this video. The most interesting thing about this milk is that this is not actually a milk. It's oat milk. And this brand called Oatly. So the story began a few years back when the consumer behavior started to change across the world, specifically in Western world. So a lot of people started kind of becoming vegan. So they were looking for vegan option of milk. Second, a lot of people found out they're lactose intolerant, so they cannot go and have like normal cow's milk. So they were looking for alternatives. And finally, a lot of people started going to gym. So milk does kind of contribute to a lot of calories. So they were like looking for options other than milk. And it's quite difficult. You see, like milk is such an essential product that you kind of use in every single thing or every single aspect of your life from a food consumption perspective, right? So the story started in Sweden. Back in the days, Sweden is again one of the highest producer of milk in Europe, and also has one of the largest consumption per capita of milk in the world. I think annual consumption of milk in US is around 68 kgs per person. In Sweden, it's around 90 kgs per person, 90 to 95 kgs per person. And compared to that in India, I think it's around 57 kgs per person. Back in 1990s, when a lot of people started finding out that they are lactose intolerant and they couldn't consume normal milk, there was a bit of a problem. And there was one person, a scientist in Sweden, in a place called Malmö. He was a food scientist. He discovered in his lab that there's an alternative. And he found out oat milk that is produced from oats. It's the same oat that you have every single day when you are kind of having a breakfast or like brunch, lunch, whatever. You can produce milk from the oats. And in 1994, he, along with his business partner, had a patent, and he formed a company. And the company was called Oatly. It took them 20 years. It took them 20 years to kind of make it a big name. And by 2014, Oatly started becoming like a big name in Malmö. What happened after 2014 is a story. It's a most amazing story in like modern times about a brand, and that also of like a disruptor. So Oatly, it started becoming quite popular in Sweden, and then a lot of people who turned vegan, who started becoming health conscious, they started kind of looking for alternatives, and then they found this brand and they started doing their marketing as well. And then in 2015-16, Oatly was like a well-known brand in Sweden. At the same time, what was happening was the milk lobby in Sweden, which started kind of feeling the threat of this like newcomer, which is kind of coming and kind of disrupting the milk industry in Sweden. They were like, okay, this is not good for us. So they sued Oatly, and they basically kind of filed a law case against Oatly saying that this is not milk, this has come from plants, that is not milk. And then basically what happened was a big lawsuit was filed against Oatly. And you know, if you're a newcomer in this industry and like the whole lobby kind of sues you, you won't be able to survive. Oatly had a master stroke. What Oatly did, Soon after the lawsuit, Oatly went to all the big newspapers and magazines and kind of just printed the whole lawsuit in the front page of all the big newspapers and magazines. And it kind of laid it out very clearly for customers and people to see how a newcomer is getting bullied and wrestled by an established business empire of milk. So the transformation started at Oatly by one person. They hired a new CEO in 2012 called Toni Petersson. And Toni Petersson is now called the Elon Musk of milk industry. He came and transformed the whole industry. First thing, Oatly was before considered to be like a medicinal drink for people who are lactose intolerant. Toni came and basically changed this to a very cool drink that people who are going out to cafes, who are trying to be vegan, he remarketed the whole thing as a cool new brand. Second thing, earlier the packaging of the milk was, oat milk was done only in Swedish. So Toni came and basically he changed everything to English so that like people across the world who are buying oat milk, they understand what is written. And the package itself of Oatly tells you the whole story. So they have a lot of description on the package written how is oat milk better than the cow milk. Third, he commissioned an environment sustainability report. And the report actually proved that production of oat milk has less environmental impact than cow's milk and much lesser carbon emission. Also, Oatly on all its brands and packaging, it writes how much carbon emission is done in manufacturing of that specific package. And all these appeal to like these new age hipsters, coffee shop going, Instagram using influencers who just became this brand ambassador of Oatly because like they just want to stand out. And the moment they got like a new brand to stand out, they just became like unconsciously, subconsciously, or deliberately the new brand ambassadors of Oatly. And the master stroke of moving to United States was taken by Toni. So what he did was, you see, US is a place where all the influencers of the world rise, and it's the epicenter of like cultural trends, new things that people across the world do, anything that creates a buzz in the United States, that creates a buzz across the globe. So he decided to enter the US, and the way he entered the US market was quite a strategic, a very non-conventional approach. They were quite scared because like a small brand from Sweden, which no one has even heard about in US, would it succeed or not? And most likely it was going to flop. So what Toni decided was, rather than going to all the big stores and shops, he entered the US market through coffee shops. And basically we know that New York has like the maximum number of coffee shops in like whole of America, and all these people who are going to work, again I said there are a lot of alternative coffee shops, people love to go and grab coffee outside. He entered the high-end coffee shops and basically started selling Oatly there and asked people to try this new milk, which is not a milk, which is has nothing to kind of worry about, is vegan and has less carbon emission. And it just exploded. And among all the things, the best thing about Oatly was the taste was amazing. People just love the taste. It's a new form of milk with a better taste and had all the froth. And the concept just exploded. So in 2019, Oatly had almost reached around like 5,000 coffee shops and 7,000 stores. It has just gone like bonkers, and the demand was so high that Toni Petersson decided to start new manufacturing plants in United States, and they ended up kind of starting 2 manufacturing plants in United States. And that's the froth in the coffee shop that you saw behind. That's what the whole magic is about. And now Oatly is like such a big business. So having captured United States, the next place where they are moving to is China. So Shanghai And again, Shanghai is like a big market, but Shanghai has more coffee shops than whole of New York. And they are trying to use the same strategic approach to enter Shanghai. And most likely once they come capture Shanghai, they're going to enter India. So imagine this, right? So you have like new brands like Chayos, which have captured India, and like a Chayos chai, which costs like 110 to like 200 rupees, whereas a Tapri chai that costs you 20 rupees. Still the Chayos chai is quite successful. It's quite a successful business. So exactly same. But the blockbuster change came for Oatly when Oatly started kind of selling in United States. It started quite small, and it was quite brave for a company of this size from like Sweden to kind of say, let's say venture out in United States and see what happens. And this is a story which changed the life of Oatly and changed the life of millions and millions of people who are associated with Oatly. It changed the whole industry. It changed the game of alternative milk industry. When Oatly entered United States, this was the consumption of regular milk, and this was the consumption of oat milk. Few years later, this is the consumption of regular milk, and this is the consumption of oat milk. So anything that becomes popular in the United States, that captures the globe. Take the story of Netflix, Amazon, Google, Facebook. Now Oatly.
Wow, no cow, no